I'm Ted. This is the Real Ted G podcast. Bing, you're on mic.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
All right, I'm good. So
Scaling
tall buildings or leaping tall buildings in a single bound. Topic conversation with us today is going to be scaling. When do you know you're ready to scale your business? I think it's the hardest thing in the world is to scale your business. I am not an expert. I think I've thought about it, like to scale. And by scaling, we mean, going from 6 figures to 7 figures. So something along those lines. If, you're putting together 45 transactions, and it's not, not putting, your goal shouldn't be when you're ready to scale. Your goal shouldn't be putting together 55 transactions because obviously that's a monetary, you're increasing your bottom line. It's going from 45 transactions to, 245 transactions. The only way to do that is to hire the right person. So, for instance, I read this book a long time ago. It's called The Millionaire Agent, and it's actually the book that most team building is based on. And I remember reading it when I did read it, and it talked about real significant, what's that word? Points in a career in real estate where it's time to scale. Scaling, the first thing that someone should do is hire an assistant, and that is one of the most important hires in terms of team building. I don't know if that's what people are doing these days, these kids today, but that was what I did when I did create a team. So an assistant, of course, and then the other part of scaling is to be able to know that the business is not going to be disrupted at all. So it's always been a scary thought to scale, but I'm ready.
You're ready to make it multi-million.
No, I'm ready to scale.
Okay.
Yeah. And it may
How would you?
Money.
So scaling in real estate is getting more recruits and having more people is.
Well, from an office perspective,
Perspective.
From an office perspective to officially scale from to take an office to the next level, it would involve, if we have 45 licenses here in this particular building, we would have to shoot for 250 licenses. That's scaling. And again, you need to have the right infrastructure in place. But I'm talking from an individual agent standpoint in terms of scaling your business, is to be able to cover more ground, to cover more client relationships, and at the same time, not miss a beat by losing client relationships. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for anyone, and including myself. Because the real goal, the real easy way to scale would be if I could clone myself. Then I have another person that does the same exact thing that I do. That's a different type of team. That would be more of a partnership type of team. But anyway, so I'm working on it. In fact, we have a possible assistant kind of doing the test run today.
Cool.
And I always find that it's important to do a test run because sometimes you might just not get along. So. We're working on it.
Now, when it comes to how you scale your business versus other agents or other brokerages, like what's the difference that you've noticed between both?
Well, here's the real answer.
Okay.
I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
So let's see what happens. I've always grown. I have no problem, saying that. Grown in office, grown my real estate transactions. I've always grown in business. But scaling is a different word, so it's
this is like
meaning.
The first time you're setting like concrete objectives to grow it.
I think it's also the first time that I think I'm ready.
Good.
So yeah, we'll see.
That's honestly a really honest answer. A lot of people would throw a BS answer out there to try to.
Really, what kind of? Tell me. I like to hear what other people do. The real world.
Well, it would just be more like a lot of people don't want to say I don't know.
Oh.
Or this is my first time. There's a.
You wrote actually my first time in a very long time.
Well, that's showing humility. That's showing humility, which is another topic.
It's on my list.
It is on your list.
Hubris, yes.
And hubris. So I mean, I think that's an important aspect, and that's why I think you'll be successful with it.
Yeah. I wrote that topic down. I think it was because I was making an example of something recent. Humility and hubris. So I mean, how do we feel about certain words? Like I used to wear this cologne. It was a gift, and I didn't realize what the name was. It was spelled, I kept calling it arroganti. And then someone said, no, the cologne name is arrogant.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was really life-changing. Because
Well, here's to good cologne.
Yeah.
So,
And now I've been wearing this cologne called Gravity.
Gravity.
Yeah, so I feel grounded.
So you feel grounded. Okay.
Yeah.
You ever when you try to do you ever like do grounding exercises where like you'll go outside and just kind of like let your feet touch the grass? Kinda
No,
read
but that was in Pretty Woman.
Was that in Pretty Woman?
Yeah, it was a scene.
I need to watch this movie since you talk about it so much.
Everyone should watch Pretty Woman.
So, what made you decide to scale your business?
I've
Like-
never grounded myself.
No.
I didn't even know that was a thing. I mean, I know it was a scene in Pretty Woman, but it wasn't like a meditation type of thing.
I mean, there's other ways you could like ground yourself too. It's
Yeah.
more just like living in the moment. But I am curious about what got you to the point where you felt ready to scale your business. What was the motivation behind that?
I think everything seems to be in place. And not to be confused with procrastinating people. Not that I am a procrastinator. I'm a perfectionist, which makes me an automatic procrastinator. Some people wait for everything to be perfect before they do something. Before they take the plunge, they do something. No, it's not that everything is perfect, but I feel that everything can be put into place. It's like all the pieces of the puzzle are here. The puzzle is not put together yet. So so if we were building the puzzle, it's not 100% done. But I feel like all the puzzle pieces are right in front of me or capable of being right in front of me.
That's cool. When I look at scaling, like I haven't really scaled my business either. I just mostly focus on like how many jobs do I need to reach a certain amount of money for this month to continue staying in business.
Yeah, well, that's knowing your numbers. And you know what? I'm going to re-answer that same question you gave me. It has to do with the people you are around. And I think that the best example that recently was set was a recruit that I recruited a really great agent, professional, amazing, has been in the business longer than I have, has been successful more years than I have, with a lot of experience. And it's just maybe that's the inspiration behind it. It's just, you know what? Let's up our game. If I was an 8 out of 10, 1 to 10, if people rated me as an 8, I want people to rate me as an 11 right now. So yeah,
good.
Anyway, Bing, you were gonna ask another question.
I'm just thinking about what you were saying, and I mean, I can't help but agree. I mean, you want to be an 11, and you want to be the difference. And I was also,
I just made 95 cents on TikTok.
You did.
Amazing.
That's pretty good. 95 cents on TikTok is bread. That'll offset the cost of
and I didn't
this
have to
microphone.
take my clothes off.
Hey Luke, you might have to go to his house so he could do that, and get maybe $2 on TikTok.
No names here.
That's cool.
We've already had the topic of OnlyFans.
We did have a topic.
Did we ever post my short? Attention agents, delete your OnlyFans account.
We never did that short.
I taped it.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, we didn't.
Here's some advice to agents: delete your OnlyFans account before you get into real estate.
Did I post that?
No, you never posted it. I checked.
Was it? I think I just labeled it as a joke short.
Yeah.
I have to create a different category for that. Another thing for scaling is marketing. So it's the way I market your podcast is there's the Ted G quick tip and then a reel from the podcast. So I have to think of something to call our joke tips.
Call it Funny Man.
Funny Man?
No. Well, we'll think of a good name.
We got to get you. You know what we got to get you? We got to get you in a joke like a
turban.
Oh, I don't think that would be a great idea, considering the very funny things happening halfway across the world. We'll figure that out.
What were you saying? We got to get me in what?
Like maybe like a dunce cap or like the Joker hats from like the Middle Ages or something. You know what I'm talking about? The thing with the bells on it.
Oh yeah.
And that'll be like our joke.
So I can't just wear my crown?
You could wear your crown too, but I don't think you want to make a mockery out of the crown.
Well, no, it's not a mockery. I have a crown. I'm the self-proclaimed. Yeah, that's about right. No, why do I call myself the king of Long Island real estate?
Because I don't know.
My clients are treated like royalty.
My clients are treated like royalty.
And that's a tagline.
That is a tagline.
Yeah.
So when you do, I had a question for you and I lost it. So when you do your when you do scale your business, are you going to focus more on sales? Are you going to focus more on getting more recruits? Or are you going to what's your focus going to be? Like, what's your main strategy?
I think everything has to happen in stages.
Okay.
So,
What's stage one?
Too big, too fast is not the best thing either. So I think business is first. Business is first. Do more business. Do more business. Grow more business.
What do you mean by that? Like, get more leads?
If this office did 200 transactions, let's work on getting to 300 or 400.
Okay.
Before we need to work on adding. Let's pretend 7 different secretaries. Administrators. So that's because no matter how you slice it, there's always going to be a scale. From an individual agent standpoint, the goal isn't to have one assistant; it's to have an assistant that actually is distributing work to other different assistants.
So what are your first 5 steps for your
I don't know. I
scaling?
haven't thought of them yet. This is just a podcast. This is a podcast. This is my creative outlet.
Oh, well, pretend you're like just spitballing. Like, what are some, you want more administrators, you want a couple more agents,
Yeah.
maybe 100 more sales transactions.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is there a time frame for this, or is this just kind of like we're just going step?
The steps involved, or if I'm gonna increase marketing, if I'm gonna increase a different category of my business, whatever you do, and this goes with agents. If agents want to increase their business and they want to increase the number of listings they have, well, guess what? They actually have to increase the amount of prospecting they do. At the same time, this is the smart agent will also increase their education level, and I don't mean going back to college, but increase the education level of their ability to close. If you know you can close 10 out of 100 leads, well, there's only one way to grow or scale, and see, it's impossible to scale if you don't increase the ratio that you're closing. So, for instance, you have to get to the point where you can close 90. That's a pretty steep thing, but 90 out of 100 leads. Now you grew your business and you have the capability of scaling. So that's probably the step that most agents choose to skip.
So how many hours a day should an agent really be prospecting? And
as many as it takes.
As many as it takes. So is that defined by like the goals of the office or the goals of the individual realtor, or both?
I'm a slave driver, so it doesn't matter to me.
But so is prospecting going door to door? Is it cold calling? What does prospecting look like for?
Oh, all of the above.
All of the above. Okay.
I think agents don't realize we're prospecting when we're meeting a buyer at a house. We're prospecting when the buyer wants to make an offer, and you don't just you don't act like it's a frivolous thing. You send them documentation to sign, and it doesn't matter if they sign a sales binder that's far below asking price, and it's not going to get accepted. That's fine. They sign it. They sign the disclosures. They don't just get their one form. You're a prepared agent, professional, prepared, and ready to do business, right? So what does that mean? You're prospecting, because when that buyer has to sell their other house, or their niece or nephew is going to buy a house, that buyer, you've already prospected, you've done your prospecting, and that buyer is going to be referring you. It happens all the time. And so anyway, we're always on.
So what's like a creative way to approach prospecting? There's the in the box way, going to someone's house, maybe cold calling, but can you give an example of an out of the box solution to getting a buyer or a listing?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
I have 2.
Okay.
So I believe in the force.
Okay.
So yes, when I've prospected with agents, I've, no joke, stopped at houses, and I just said, I have a feeling. And 9 times out of 10, that the homeowner just doesn't know what hit them. They think, we were just talking about this. So sometimes you have to rely on your gut or a feeling. There's probably other factors involved, a lot like different ways to pick up on cues when people talk to you, and there are probably cues when comes to houses. Now, here's the real out of the box idea that everyone can do. When a house goes on the market on any given street, 80% of the time, a neighbor is going to think, well, maybe I should be on the market too. If your neighbor is going to move to a bigger house, most likely there's another neighbor that's thinking about the same thing. So talking to the neighbors about, oh, have you ever thought about selling? Your neighbor is on the market for XYZ amount of money. Or your neighbor is on the market and they actually just sold. Whether or not you sold the property or listed it for that matter, go ahead and do what's called 10-10-20s and talk to the neighbors. One sign seems to have a multiplying effect. I could prove to you that any given street, if it has one real estate sign, it also has a second. So is that out of the box?
I would say I think the method, I'm an outsider to real estate, so I would say the methodology is.
Well, here's what I'll tell you about out of the box when it comes to real estate.
Okay.
Sometimes the most out of the box ideas are the ones that are actually in the box.
What do you mean?
I mean, people underestimate the basics. And I think people underestimate the basics and also disregard them. So the moment you get back to basics, suddenly you are the one who's out of the box.
I see.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, you know what? It is in a way. I think there's not.
Is it brilliant? Tell me more. Do you think that was brilliant? No.
Put me on the spot, man. So, okay, when it comes to scaling.
Me, Ted, but your insecurities are showing.
Oh, Jesus.
No, kidding.
Well, when it comes to scaling, I want to bring it back to scaling. How does it, obviously you need people and your agents to help reach that goal. You can obviously pull a lot of your own weight, but it always helps to have a helping hand. What's a way to translate this goal to people that are under you? What do you...
people won't even know I'm scaling. People won't even know that we're expanding, because the best way to do it is to do it without them knowing. Just focus on growth, focus on systems, focus on the resources that are already there, and let people have success by accident.
Okay. Well, what do you mean by systems?
Oh, systems. We have so many tools that we underutilize. I have, just this week, one of my agents took it upon themselves to take one of my listings for sale. It happens to be a commercial listing that I have a focus on it, but it's not my main focus. I have a focus on all my sellers, but it's not, residential is our primary aspect here. So he took it upon himself to put it on what I believe was Facebook Marketplace. And guess what? He garnered, I think, one or two definite buyers from it, but the one buyer that he's actually already shown it, and we're working on their financing terms.
Excellent.
So he made a transaction where there wasn't one. It wasn't from the usual steps taken. So,
it's just mostly.
Not that his ego should get any bigger than mine. That would be that's the number one rule of scaling. Keep your egos in check.
So it's mostly
other people, not me so much.
So your strategy for scaling and motivating your people is allowing them a creative outlet and just supporting whatever they're doing, so long as it's productive.
Yep. And the only way that works is when they feel that you have to convey a confidence that you are their security blanket. You are their fallback plan.
Awesome. And I think that's really important. I feel I like the way you're approaching it, because it allows fluidity and movement instead of like a rigid, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to go do that. That's more like how I flow too. I've always struggled with creating concrete objectives. I've more or less had loose objectives that allowed me to kind of change. Because with me personally, I don't know if you feel this way, but when I don't meet a concrete objective, I kind of feel like crap. I'm like, man, I didn't.
Well, that's a difference. I don't feel anything.
You don't feel anything? No? I just
that operation.
What operation?
I had my heart removed.
You had your heart
10 years ago. She was more like 14 years ago. Yeah, and ever since then, no, don't feel a thing.
No?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll get that heart operation one day.
Yeah.
Well, until then. Well, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, remember, folks, wherever you go, there you are. No. I'm the real Ted G, and hopefully you've enjoyed my podcast. Thank you both for watching. And you can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube.